Welcome to Insure Smart with Tapan Singhel, and today we are discussing the government's ambitious project of providing insurance for all by 2047. Now, the project is, of course, very heartening, but the questions are whether the targets are really achievable and what's happening to the schemes that have already been launched on the ground. We have with us Mr. Tapan Singhel, MD and CEO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, who will help us understand that and also tell us the way forward. Welcome, Mr. Singhel. You've talked about insurance for all by 2047 in many of your addresses, and in fact, you're very positive about it. Could you elaborate a bit upon that?
There are two, three things that we have to understand why I mentioned it and why our regulator, Mr. Panda, is also very, I think, supportive and excited about getting this done. See, insurance for all will make a huge difference to the country from two, three perspectives. First is, it will ensure that the social security net gets created very well, which is of paramount importance. Second, it will ensure that the economic growth that you see, and we're very happy with our growth as a country, when we talk about 7%, 8%, highest in the world in that stuff. This will actually grow notch higher the moment you're able to achieve that, at least by 2-3 percentage points more. I think that is where it pushes up. So if you put this all together, if you look at it currently, a lot of us talk about the insurance penetration, but that's with the GDP connection. Now, for a fast-growing economy, I think the best way to look at it is number of lives that you are touching. That has had a significant improvement in the past 10 to 15 years. Now, if I currently see, if I look at my own company, I think from the beginning we have covered close to 15 crore Indians, which actually means that in every 1 in 3, 1 in 4 household, we're already present as a company. So it is not that it's not possible. We have to reach to the last mile. Now there is an initiative in consultation with the regulator and the guidance from the regulator, in which we are looking at now how do we reach out to each gram panchayat, and how do we make a woman-centric distribution network at the last mile, and what is a product which will be suitable for that. That is also very close now. The regulation on the centric distribution I mentioned about at the gram panchayat is already on. The product should be coming any moment. So you'll suddenly see an explosion happening at the last mile in terms of distribution network. And this product will have part of life, part of health, part of PNC coverage, which should be there. Now that is one. Second is, as we were talking about earlier, in terms of ease of friction-free claims. So there has to be a center in which every product is plugged and play. Every service provider, be it hospitals, be it garages, they are plugged and play. Every distributor is on, every insurance company is on. The UPI movement for insurance, may call it. That is the Bima Sugam. Now that company has already got incorporated just recently now. Now that would be the next thing which is coming up there. So a lot of excitement happening in the insurance space. And if I put all this together, and if I look at the government intent, if I look at the government manifesto for elections, if I look at what they have done in the past thing, insurance is in their radar. They're looking at it as a very powerful tool for providing social security across. So if I put all this together, I am very hopeful that this would happen before 2047. But 2047, as you know, is 100 years for the country. I think that is why that year comes, but this should happen before that.
Right. So you were talking about the last mile and how, the effort is to reach the last mile. But one of the concerns is also the healthcare facilities in India might not be that robust in the rural areas as we know it. So isn't that a priority before like insurance needs reaches all?
So it's actually a very classic chicken and egg. We have heard there's no what comes first, chicken or egg. And let me give you some examples to demonstrate why I believe that this will trigger a lot of stuff. So if you look at earlier, when we didn't have the Ayushman Bharat, we didn't have health at the last mile, which now we have with the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya scheme. We have that across, and now we are thinking of the enhancement of sum insured, which should be coming soon, which actually gave at the last mile a 5 lakh sum insured cover. So after that announcement, and you watch carefully, in a couple of years, you would have seen a lot of the big hospital names also looking at setting up centers, at the tier 2, tier 3. Why? Because now you have money flowing in. Demand supply starts building up. Earlier, let's say if you set up a hospital in a smaller location, and the people don't have the paying capacity, then it is not viable from a business perspective. Now with this scheme, it becomes viable because now 5 lakh is the minimum sum insured that a person is having at the last mile, and when they go to the hospital, they can pay that money, and it's very friction free. It is very smooth. Now with that happening, the viability starts coming in, and suddenly you see a chain reaction happening, and people now opening, and you just pick up after the Arogya scheme announcement a couple of years later, and then you see the proliferation of these hospitals and network happening there. So when money starts flowing, the businesses start building up. Yes. So my personal view is, if we reverse it, let's say we say first we'll set up hospitals, we'll set up full network, then we shall do that. That may take much more time than to set up the entire infrastructure. The business will follow. I think.
So the idea is simultaneous development.
Yeah, it will move in its own way. And now when I look at newspaper articles, I see conversation, more hospitals, more medical colleges, more students. When I look at the number of seats in PG moving up for doctors, all that is happening. So you look at the chatter. So it's a flow. You have to see it in totality to really get excited about, yes, no, this is how the country will transform.
Yeah, but even with Ayushman Bharat, there is a bit of criticism that the coverage is not as wide as is expected. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so if you look at now, the conversation already on in terms of increasing the sum insured. You look at some states like I mentioned about Maharashtra, the latest one. Now they have made it wide for everybody. If you look at Rajasthan, they had actually done it, and they had actually put in like lot of coverages for dialysis, continuous, and all the features. So there has been a massive development on the basic Ayushman Bharat, which had got launched. But if that was not launched, would this have happened? So my point always remains the same. You always be super excited about initiatives which touch the masses and puts money in the hand of the masses, because then businesses follow, the infrastructure develops, then the creation of jobs happen, education system gets revamped to cater to that. It's a chain reaction, and that all adds up to my point. Just say that the GDP movement starts happening. With that, the economic growth also happens. So at times we don't put the whole picture together to realize that the impact of one initiative can lead to a 1.2% GDP growth for the country. But if you put the chain together, it's clearly visible to you, and that is where the excitement comes. That yes, this is the right way forward.
Yes, of course, the project is very heartening to, spread the social security across the country. We were also talking about that how simultaneously infrastructure and insurance can work. Another thing perhaps that can, simultaneously be done is awareness in rural areas, because we don't see a lot of people aware about it. So what are the steps that we can take there?
It's always amazing to talk to you, Nidhi, because I think the way you question is one logical, and also if not done, then the picture gets messed upon. Now, if you look at exactly the conversation that you had, the next thought in our mind was, how do we create awareness about insurance? Because the insurance is something when people are aware, they'll buy. I'm very clear, because the products are good and it actually delivers a lot. It's only a question of people not being aware and not being on the top of the mind recall for them, which is there. So the General Insurance Council, we have agreed to put together a part of our total premium, as for awareness creation. So we're creating a pool for the next 3 to 5 years. Discussion already happening with agencies to see how do we take it forward. Simultaneously, I was talking to our chairman from the regulator side, Mr. Panda. He said even the regulators are putting together a campaign for creating this awareness. So now, when you put all this together, all the industry putting in some money as a percentage of their premium, and the regulator also putting in, that's quite a bit of money coming into just for the creation of awareness and putting that together. So you will be seeing this, I think, come together in just about next 3-4 months. You will start seeing a lot of activity happening on this.
So are we expecting a campaign like something like AMFI is doing on mutual fund sahi hai? Something like that is the insurance industry thinking about?
Each industry is unique. I think the mutual fund would have done sahi hai because they were trying to say that, okay, this is the right way of investment. I think that's why that no Sahi comes. Good people will have apprehension about mutual fund. From insurance perspective, I think it is a question of it is the right thing to secure whatever assets you have created, or no, if things go wrong, there has a continuity. You don't have a sudden fall from where it is, and the fact that the industry does this, that awareness has to be there. So the campaign may be a bit different, but I leave it to the experts. I'm not the experts to really comment on it. My personal feeling is that we should be focusing on this. But since you have two, three different entities coming together and pumping in good amount of money and tank on that, I'm very excited. It should be very, very good.
Of course. I was just talking about that, that kind of campaign might help. The other thing that we are primarily talking about health insurance, but while we are talking about insurance for all, maybe we should talk about other kinds of insurance also. In an earlier interview, you were talking about how auto insurance, everyone doesn't have auto insurance despite the fact that it's mandatory. Home insurance is not so popular. So what about those, forms of insurance?
Yeah. Now, auto insurance is mandatory. So what we said was, let's figure out who is not insured. And today's era of data really does it very well. You have this Vahan data of all the vehicles registered. You have the insurance data of all the vehicles insured. The insurance data resides with IIB. That is a regulatory sponsored entity which has the data, and every company sends it there. Now you do a match of the data, you know exactly who all are uninsured. That data is with the government now. It has been uploaded at NIC level. And we look at some of the circulars issued by the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Road Transport to the state secretaries. They have clearly said that now you have access to understanding which are not insured. So let's take some corrective action and see that we can get them insured. Because again, it has a big impact, a social impact. See, why is insurance mandatory, vehicle insurance? Because when road accidents happen and compensation has to be given to the person, if the vehicle is insured, the insurance company pays for it. And there is a very set structured formula under which the courts give a ruling, which is reasonable in terms of the compensation to be given. Now, that may be something which the vehicle owner, if he or she is not insured, if it comes on them as a burden, they may not be able to pay. I mentioned to you that on a two-wheeler, we have a claim that I saw in the industry is close to 15-20 crore of rupees, as a compensation to be given. Now, if it was not insured, would the two-wheeler have been able to provide that compensation? One, so if the person would have got the compensation, and the two-wheeler itself, whatever money they had, they would also, as a family, gone bankrupt in trying to do so. It's a serious thing, and that is why the mandatory nature of the vehicle insurance on the third party is there. And now the data is there, and I'm very sure that the government would try and work on ensuring that we have full coverage on that. On the home front, again, I strongly believe that more than home, the SME, MSME is a bigger issue, because when a catastrophe happens, then somebody who was trying to build become an industrialist, bigger industry, set up factories and had the entrepreneur spirit, completely gets destroyed, and he's on the street. His entire money is gone. The bank has, if you're taking a bank loan, the bank would put an NPA on the person, and it completely destroys that. For what? Just if that person had insurance, there's no worry. Whatever loss would happen, he would have or she would have got it back, and they would have again, maybe for a couple of months, disruption would be there. They again be on the track. That also is a big issue for a country like ours, which is on the path of fast development. So there also, in one of my expectations from the budget is that this should also be looked into on a plan in which everybody should mandatorily have an insurance for the SME, MSME. Home, again, I mentioned at an individual level, it causes a huge concern, in terms of if things go wrong, people 10, 20 years of hard work, livelihood goes for a toss. So these has to be made mandatory in a way. The basic cover, like for motor, TP is mandatory, not the OD part of it, which is critical for the society, because then it ensures that the continuity happens and the country and the individual do not suffer. So I think those are the conversations that we're having with the government also. And the industry also, we are trying to see what we can do to reach out to there.
So that means that insurance for all will cover other insurance policies as well.
It has to. It has to. Otherwise, we are not doing a good job.
So that was Mr. Tapan Singhel, who told us how the government and the industry are prepared to provide insurance for all by 2047. And we will look ahead for a bright future. Thank you so much.